Welcome back to the weekly Worm Farm Check-In with the Urban Worm Bag. My name is Steve Churchill, and I'm the owner of the Urban Worm Company. So it's been 12 days, let's call it just about 2 weeks, since I last fed this Urban Worm Bag over here. When we fed the last time, we saw a really thriving population of red wigglers happily eating away at some pumpkin. They were very dense, and everywhere I scooped, I picked up handfuls of worm meat. It was kind of surprising, actually. So we added a layer of Pitt Moss and fed the worms another helping of pumpkin, this time probably about 5 to 6 pounds of pumpkin without the skin. Now, I normally wouldn't put that much in at one time, but I've been gone a lot lately. I'm about to go away again for kind of an extended period of time. So when that happens, I'm kind of okay overfeeding for the time being. Okay, real fast, if this worm thing is new to you, I want to send you the Worm Farm Startup Guide, which is a cool little PDF that's going to help you start up a small worm bin like this one to recycle your food scraps or any other organic waste you might have. And you might just find a nice little discount code in the guide that you can use to get your Urban Worm Bag, worms, or other products a little bit more cheaply. Just click this little link above my left shoulder. It's going to take you down to the video description where you're going to click a little link where you can sign up to get that guide immediately. You can also check the top link in the video description to get that guide. But it's been almost 2 weeks, so it's tough to know. I'm not sure what we're going to find, but heck, let's just open it up and see what's going on. All right, here we go. Let's open this thing up, see what's happening. Remove our seed starting mat here for warmth. Got a couple urban worm blankets here for kind of a little bit of warmth, a little bit of moisture retention. And wow, if we'll have to replay a little bit of what we saw last week with adding all of that pumpkin meat, and it is just gone. It looks like it was never even there. Got a little bit of skin. That was probably from the week before, since last week we only added like the meat without the pumpkin skin. Look, it's great that the pumpkin's gone, but it's also very dry. So this is just the Pitt Moss that didn't get eaten through. I think the stuff underneath it, actually, let's just go ahead and scrape underneath it. You know, so we still have a thriving population going on underneath here. It's just not up at the top like we'd see if we actually had food for them to eat up here. So the worms, of course, want moisture. And so they're not gonna hang out where it's dry. And so this dry Pitt Moss, like we see here, is just not going to be that appealing to them until it gets a little bit humidified. So, but yeah, I mean, these worms might be a little bit scrawnier right now due to the cold, maybe due to a little bit of a lack of food, but they're doing just fine. I'll tell you what, real fast before we do that, let's check our temperature. So right now it's 39 degrees outside, 46 degrees in the barn. And then it looks like we're at about 45 degrees as well inside the vermicompost. So kind of the same in the barn as it is inside the vermicompost. I'd like to think that seed starting mat would be doing a little bit of a better job, but that's okay. I tell you, just by looking at the worms, I'm not really worried about what's happening in the bin. So we just go through here. You can, this is one of the interesting things, is that you don't have to grab real far down into an active worm bin to find what looks like almost uniformly dark, fully processed worm castings. So, I mean, if you just look at that stuff right here, that's worm castings right there. Maybe a few little chunks of other things in there, but I mean, and that's only like 2 inches below the surface. So these worms are doing a great job of working through this stuff. Really kind of happy with how well they're doing. And so I don't see a reason to change a whole heck of a lot right now. Here, let's just grab another big old handful. This is just fun to do. Man, this is a great population. So they're doing well. It's a little bit colder than what we'd like them to see, but that's okay. That's all right. One thing I'll point out here is we do have a lot of pumpkin seeds that are still in here, and so some of these things have actually started sprouting. I did take I'll get a close up of this guy. So these guys are kind of going to start to sprout. No big deal. Kind of fun seeing how they do their thing. Here's another one. So we can expect more of these guys to sprout through the next few weeks. Anyway, with this, I think we're doing all right. We can go ahead and do a very similar feeding. I'm going to add some paper waste this time. It's going to be white paper that I shredded up. Gonna add this on the top, but not too much of it because we still have some of this pit moss here. So I think that that's probably enough. We'll go ahead and mix it in and around this stuff. And then we're going to put more pumpkin in, and we're going to do it just like we did last week, except it might have some skin on it. So this is going to be a little bit messy, but this is actually probably won't put this much in, but I'm just going to take some of this pumpkin meat, stick it around here. This stuff is mostly water. It's actually frozen right now because it gets really cold in the barn at night. You can actually see the crystals here on the pumpkin. You know what? Screw it. Let's just go ahead and stick all of this right here. Trying to spread it out a little bit. It's a little tough on my hands because it is super cold. But this is going to give us something pretty entertaining to look at here in a few days. So what I expect to see when I come back is most of this stuff that's just like the meat is going to be gone. The worms are going to come up to the surface, and we're probably going to see nothing but the skin here. And this will just be after a few days. So I'm looking forward to seeing what this looks like. I normally don't recommend people doing this with their worm bin, especially if it's indoors. There is some risk of doing this. You end up getting maybe a little bit too wet, a little bit of that water running to the bottom. And you also can risk fruit flies. But this time of year, I'm not worried about fruit flies in the barn. I definitely would not be doing something like this in the summer where you're going to get a lot more of those critters. So anyway, let's just go ahead and close this thing up. We'll add our worm blankets back to the top. Add our seed starting mat. Close this guy up, and we'll see you next week. Okay, so it kind of looks like the pumpkin was never even there. And when I think about it, maybe it shouldn't be that surprising. Like most food waste is mostly water. And since there's not much fiber or other things that take a while to break down, there's not much evidence that I had even fed it at all. The surface looked really dry, and so it really shouldn't surprise us that the worms had retreated a little bit lower in the vermicompost in order to find some more moisture. Now, between the cold weather, the low humidity, and the heat source that we've got kind of baking away in there, things got a little bit drier than what I wanted. And that's kind of to be expected. We're in the dead of winter right now. Temperatures are barely going to crack over 40 for the next 10 days or so. So we're kind of in survival mode right now. And our goal is to keep the worms alive and reasonably happy in their habitat. That means keeping that seed starting mat going while also staying on top of the moisture levels. All right, thanks for watching. We're going to see you next week.